changes in economic system. In the 1980s and 1990s, a number of economies, including the UK and New Zealand, moved from being largely mixed economies to being mainly market economies. The role of the government was reduced by removing a number of government regulations, selling off many state-owned entities and parts of state-owned entities, a process called privatization. There was an even more dramatic change in the economies of Eastern Europe, including Poland and Russia, in the 1990s. They moved from being planned economies to market economies. These economies have experienced a significant increase in consumer choice and a rise in the quality of products produced. They have also, however, seen a rise in income inequality and poverty. Recent years have witnessed an increasing role of market forces in a number of economies in Asia, including China, also in Africa, including South Africa. In contrast, there has been a rise in government intervention in a number of Latin American economies, including Bolivia and Venezuela. Activity 3. India has a long tradition of government planning, but the degree of government intervention in the economy has been reduced in the last 2 decades. Privatization started in 1991, with the creation and sale of a small number of shares in some state-owned entities. This process sped up in the first decade of the 2000s. In 2004, for instance, the Indian government sold off some of its shares in the oil and national gas and shares in the airports of Delhi and Mumbai, hoping that this would stimulate more investment and greater efficiency. This privatization has been opposed by the Communist parties of India, which argue that firms perform better in the public sector. Part A. What is meant by privatization? Part B. Explain one reason for better performance of a firm when 1. It is in the private sector. 2. It is in the public sector.
This is Ahmed and this is Bilal. They both own a clothing business in the same economy, but they both sell different things. Ahmed sells regular clothing, Bilal, however, sells clothes. But for the government, Bilal chooses to manufacture clothes like police and firefighter uniforms for the government. Because he almost exclusively manufactures for the government, he does not have to pay the 20% tax that Ahmed has to pay. He can also keep his business open longer, because the government eases its time regulations on businesses that supply it. The government will also give him a loan if he runs out of supplies.
Merits of the market system. In a market system, resources move automatically as a result of changes in price. In turn, price changes are determined by the interaction of demand and supply. As its name suggests, a market economy relies on the market system. A mixed economy relies, in part, on the market system. This section explores the advantages of the market system presented in Unit 4, in greater depth. Reallocation of resources. The use of resources is changing all the time in response to changes in consumer demand and costs of production. As mentioned in economic systems, resources move towards those products whose demand is rising and away from those which are becoming less popular. If air travel becomes more popular, the demand for sea travel would decrease. Figure 1 shows an increase in demand for air travel, and a decrease in demand for sea travel. The changes in demand cause prices to change. These alterations in price encourage firms to switch their resources from sea travel to air travel. Market forces also ration out products when their supply falls short of demand. If, for instance, a disease attacks a potato crop, supply will decrease. Initially, this may result in a shortage with demand exceeding supply, as shown in Figure 2a. This shortage, however, will drive up price until the market again clears with demand equaling supply, as shown in Figure 2b. the market sorts out who will receive the products by raising the price. Those who are able to pay the higher price will be able to consume the product. The importance of competition and incentives. Allocative efficiency occurs when resources are allocated in a way that maximizes consumers' satisfaction. This means that firms produce the products that consumers demand in the right quantities. Graphically, allocative efficiency is depicted by supply matching consumers' demand. If too few resources are devoted to the product resulting in a shortage, this is called allocative inefficiency underproduction. If too many resources are allocated for producing the product and there is a surplus, this is called allocative inefficiency overproduction. Market forces, by changing prices, should eliminate shortages and surpluses and move markets towards allocative efficiency. Competition can play a key role in this process. This is because in a competitive market, a firm has both an incentive in the form of profit and a threat of punishment in the form of a risk of going out of business to be allocatively efficient. If it is more responsive to the needs of consumers as compared to its rivals, it should gain a larger market share and earn high profits at least for a while. In contrast, if it does not produce commodities demanded by consumers, it will lose sales to rivals and may be driven out of the market. Productive efficiency. Again, in a competitive market, a firm has both an incentive and a threat of punishment which should drive it towards being productively efficient and to be productively efficient when it produces at the lowest possible cost per unit. If it can drive its costs down to the lowest possible level, it may capture more sales and gain more profit. If, however, its costs per unit are higher than its rivals, it will lose market share and possibly all of its sales. If a firm is productively efficient, means that it is not wasting resources. If all producers in a country are productively efficient, the economy will be able to make full use of its resources and hence will be producing on its production possibility curve. If all producers in a country are productively efficient, the economy will be able to make full use of its resources and hence will be producing on its production possibility curve. In Figure 4, production point A is productively efficient. With its given price, resources and technology, is making products as possible. Point B is productively inefficient as some resources are either not being used or not being put to good use. For instance, some workers may be unemployed. Some workers may be lying idle and some factory and office space may be empty. Also, there may be some worker involved in jobs to which they are not best suited and the capabilities of some capital goods may not be fully exploited. For instance, some workers may be unemployed, some workers may be lying idle and some factory and office space may be empty. Also, there may be some worker involved in jobs to which they are not best suited and the capabilities of some capital goods may not be fully exploited. Dynamic efficiency. Dynamic efficiency arises when resources are used efficiently, over a period of time. The profit incentive and threat of going out of business can encourage firms in a market system to spend money on research and development and to innovate. Those firms that introduce new methods of production and bring out new, improved products, increase their chance of gaining high profits. Those that do not seek to keep up with new ideas to produce products and do not develop new products, run the risk of being driven out of the market. A market system has the potential to provide some significant benefits and benefits which can grow over time. These include providing consumers with the power to determine what is produced, choice, low prices, and high-quality products. If a market system is working well, it will be automatically allocating resources according to the consumer demand. By rewarding efficiency and punishing inefficiency, it may encourage the manufacture of products that consumers want and are prepared to pay for, in the right quantities and at the lowest possible cost per unit, Market forces can also promote the improvement of methods of production and a rise in the quality of products made. It does this by putting competitive pressure on entrepreneurs and workers and by providing them with incentives to respond to changes in market conditions. For instance, if demand for books is increasing whilst the demand for cinema tickets is falling, profit and wages will be rising in the publishing industry while they will be falling in the film industry. These changes will encourage some firms to switch production and some workers to change their jobs.